Welcome to Jurassic World Dominion. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris and welcome back to another video. So today I'm giving you my review of Jurassic World Dominion, the quote-unquote epic conclusion to the Jurassic franchise. And before I give you guys my thoughts on this movie, make sure to hit that like button, comment down below your thoughts or your expectations on the final film in the franchise, and make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future reviews like this one. So my relationship with the Jurassic franchise is that I absolutely adore Jurassic Park. I think it's a 5 out of 5 movie and one of Spielberg's best. All the other sequels, though, felt kind of lacking in a shell of what that first movie really captured. So I haven't loved the Jurassic World movies thus far, and going into this I had higher expectations simply because you're bringing back the OG cast and it's marketed as this epic conclusion to the Jurassic franchise. So I finally watched the movie. It's 2 hours and 26 minutes long. I'm not going to beat around the bush here. I think this was an anticlimactic letdown of a conclusion to the Jurassic franchise. I want to start by highlighting what I really did enjoy about this movie, though, and that is the fact that they brought back the original cast and they carried this movie, in my opinion. Seeing Laura Dern, Sam Neill, and Jeff Goldblum all together on screen again just feels so magical, and their interactions throughout the movie make it worthwhile at times. It really does feel magical, like we're watching them together in 1993, and it really just made me wish that we got a 4th Jurassic Park movie with all of them, or almost like they redid this franchise, and right after Jurassic Park, they brought back our main 3 leads and just continued that and made its own contained trilogy, as opposed to making this spin-off Jurassic World series. Because in all honesty, this movie felt like 2 movies that were combined into one, and they were almost running like parallel lines that eventually converged later on, and that's not something you really want in a movie. Obviously, we've seen a lot of big blockbusters and franchises deal with storylines that have a ton of different character groupings intertwined over the course of the film, and this movie didn't handle it the best it could have, in my opinion, because it is a follow-up to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, as the character who's a clone is being hunted by all these humans, and she is a high asset. You've got raptors being hunted, so you've got Owen Grady's character, played by Chris Pratt, trying to protect everyone and watch over people, so it turns into this human plotline that kind of evolves into this like Mission Impossible action style movie in like the middle act. And honestly, I loved the action scene. I mean, I'm not going to be opposed to Chris Pratt riding around on a motorcycle being chased by dinosaurs. That is like sick. Like, that's something that you want to see on the biggest screen possible and just shove popcorn down your throat when you watch it. So when this movie kind of turns into this action spectacle in the middle act, I wasn't opposed to it because it was really enthralling. But it would cut from this action scene to this plot not really involving dinosaurs. We're dealing with like the genetics of the current world we lived in, and that whole entire plotline just felt so meaningless to me. The consequences of dinosaurs and humans having to coexist was really something that needed to be touched on, and I felt like the impact of dinosaurs on humanity was not at the forefront of this movie as much as it should have been. The consequences of the actions taken by stupid humans over the course of this franchise, it feels almost unimportant, unfortunately. So while the action sequences were really riveting in this movie, the first 30 minutes or so was some of the most convoluted filmmaking I've seen in like a big blockbuster in recent years, because I kid you not, I think there was almost 10 location changes, and I was just like, okay, we gotta settle down and really get into this story, because this is your epic conclusion. Why are you introducing 10 new characters here and throwing us all across the United States and the globe even at times? Like, it felt super jumpy, and that kind of threw me for a loop and made it almost harder to really feel any attachment to some of these characters. And I'm just not a fan of generic characters being introduced, and yet again, we follow another trope of the Jurassic franchise here. There's these generic scientists that are introduced into the plot, and there's people after the clone kid, so there's a ton of these generic characters that we've seen kind of almost cut and pasted from other films and put into this one, which is not what you want to see. I wish they would have gone a more unique route with it. And perhaps the most shocking part about Jurassic World Dominion is the fact that it feels like there's an absence of dinosaurs in a lot of this movie. Like, for a minute there, I forgot we were even in the Jurassic World, see what I did there, because there was no dinosaurs. They were being almost sidelined in this movie, and I've always been in favor of human characters having more time to shine, but the magical aspect of that original Jurassic Park film was that dinosaurs' existence was so shocking to humanity, they were trying to find a way to solve it, whereas now it's like, oh yeah, dinosaurs exist, cool, we're gonna have this other bland human plotline that doesn't really involve the dinosaur. So it kind of contradicted things that it had set up earlier in the franchise, and didn't really flow as smooth as I would have liked it, especially with the inclusion of dinosaurs in the plot itself, because they're more so just used as like a generic slasher villain would be in an 80s movie, where, okay, we're going to put this character that you guys love in a tense situation with dinosaurs when we kind of know they're going to get out of the situation. So while there's those cool action scenes and those like on the edge of your seat moments, it's become somewhat predictable and cliched in the Jurassic franchise, where we know exactly every beat of this tense scene with a dinosaur, which is unfortunate. But when you have a film franchise that kind of gets repetitive, you can see that coming from a mile away. Now, I was not a fan of the main plot line of this movie, and I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments down below if you have seen the movie. But at a certain point, I realized this movie's just going to do whatever it takes to get our old characters to converge with our new characters. And once I kind of realized where this movie was headed and they were going to do whatever it took to make somewhat sense to get them on screen together, I was like, you know what? It is what it is. I'm just going to try and have as much fun as I can. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a smile on my face when, as we see in the trailer, there was a reunion of our original characters and our new characters, because it feels very special when a franchise can actually get the people who started with people who have continued the legacy. And that was a very sweet moment in my opinion. And again, the original actors, Sam Neill carries a lot of this movie, but Jeff Goldblum in particular is the standout performance in this movie. He had my theater laughing. He's always been one of the more charismatic characters in the Jurassic franchise, and he might give one of his better performances in this franchise in this movie, because like I said, he's a scene stealer. So ultimately, it feels like they just did whatever it took to get our original characters with our new characters, which I can kind of respect because it's the name of the game now in movies, but at the same time, I think they could have just made more Jurassic Park movies with our original gang and kind of never really delved into the Jurassic World films, but they got to converge on screen and I was like, you know what, this is actually a pretty cool moment for cinema. And like I mentioned, there's a bit of an absence for dinos, but they kind of shoehorn in some almost really unnecessary dinosaur action in certain moments in the film. You guys will see when you watch it, it's like, we didn't have dino action here, but we're going to insert it here at an unnecessary moment where it's actually crucial for characters to be interacting. A lot of times this movie just feels a lot more generic, which is unfortunate. Now, I do think it's a lot better than Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which is by far the worst film in the franchise, so it is a step up from the last entry, but I don't think it's as good as that first Jurassic World movie, because the template of this movie, it's vastly different than anything we've seen, but that doesn't make it better. It feels more like just a generic action flick at times with some really badass scenes. I do want to hit that point because there are some dope scenes in this movie, notably the motorcycle chase scene. But just because we have our OG cast and our new cast together doesn't mean I can sit here and say this is the greatest Jurassic Park movie, it's fantastic, because it's not. It was still lackluster. It lacked a little bit of emotion for me because I never really was able to connect with this clone girl that was introduced in Fallen Kingdom or the newer characters. My emotional resonance is with the OG crew, so it was heartfelt to see them have their sweeter moments. I never really cared about the newer characters as much as I did the original characters, so I was kind of just wishing I was watching a Jurassic Park 4 movie or a direct sequel to Jurassic Park instead of a Jurassic World kind of endgame style movie. I definitely don't love the way they kind of brush over the consequences of humanity's impact on the environment, especially with their regard to dinosaurs, and dinos and humans coexisting is something that I thought they would have touched on more in this movie, but instead it kind of falls in line of this generic throwaway plot with a scientist and another DNA experiment and all these things, and I just wish that they would have focused more on our original characters and our new characters, and more so just them having to deal with the new world as opposed to the plot that they follow, which doesn't really focus on dinos as much, which still kind of baffles me. At the end of the day, Jurassic World Dominion has its fun moments. You get to see the original cast and the new cast unite on screen. There's humorous moments, there's heartfelt moments, and there's action that will have you on the edge of your seat. But in all honesty, for an epic conclusion to the Jurassic franchise, it falls very short of that and can be extremely generic with a very bland and recycled plotline. So as much as I want to sit here and say, I love this movie, you guys have to see it, I'd only recommend this if you've enjoyed the Jurassic franchise until now. Other than that, you could probably watch it when it comes out on streaming. I'll always have a special place in my heart for the original Jurassic Park movie. It's a perfect film in my eyes. But this movie really made me realize they missed a lot of opportunity back in the 90s for making direct sequels to that first Jurassic Park film. I don't love this movie, I don't hate this movie, but overall, it's a pretty disappointing final entry for the franchise, which was a bummer, because I was so stoked to see if they could really stick the landing and make a fantastic Jurassic movie. But what do you guys think of Jurassic World Dominion? Let me know in the comments down below. Have you seen the movie? If not, what are your expectations? Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. I'm trying to make the push for 10K subscribers. It'd be awesome if I could hit that soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I will have a lot of Jurassic videos coming out this week, a Jurassic Park movie ranking, and likely a Jurassic Park characters ranking, so stay tuned for that. But thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.